Yo, what is up, YouTube family? It is the Libertarian Metaverse here. We're back at it with another video for y'all today. Alright, man, let's talk about this pretty interesting topic that I've always wanted to talk about with history. And let's talk about America. Was the United States, as far as I would say, like, pre and post colonial USA that we see now, was the nation built off of religion, or was America founded on Judeo-Christian values? And let's talk about that, because even though I've already kind of beat the dead horse on this in the past, and this will be a pretty interesting discussion while I'm trying to get some stuff done. The whole thing behind it is that the United States is a very, it's a socially neutral country. And what do I mean with that is that everything that you see with the U.S. is very divisive in its own manner. But before I get into that, be sure to hit the like button, do what you guys gotta do. And I appreciate you guys coming through for the channel. But here's the thing. America is not a Judeo-Christian country. People would say that simply for the fact that a lot of the values that Europeans quote-unquote brought over were Christian and Jewish values. But the retardation behind it is that it's really not founded on it, because obviously the very first settlers, American Indians, they had a multitude of many different religions, and they were spiritually animus, or they had their own version of a god. But the main distinction is that America was a secular based country. People who either didn't believe in God or people who did believe in the concept of God, they were already split from the very beginning. And even when Europeans did come over, a good portion of the quote-unquote pre-founding father figures, which even before the founding fathers, leading up to the Articles of Confederation, a lot of those thinkers were definitely secular minded people, where they didn't use religion to justify their political policies. But the main course of it is that people think that America is a country that had to be started with religious values in order to get to the point of where we see it today, and that's simply not true, because the people before Europeans that were here with American Indians, they weren't utilizing that type of behavior at all. And yes, they had their own politicized mindset of what they believed in, but you have to understand that just because you're religious and you believe in a secular mindset does not mean the country itself is a religious land. A concept of a theist-based worldview would be like the Roman Empire, or like the Roman Empire, the Ottoman Empire, the Persian Empire, the Mongolians. Like those cultures those cultures have shown that they were very authoritarian, and they did what they had to do in order to get by their empire goals. But the whole deal behind it is that if that wasn't there, would that mean that religion would still not play like a massive factor in their political goals? No. Like, the thing is like, even if there wasn't any religion being backed in their philosophy, if they still believed in the concept of statism, but they still believed in secular based values, it still showed that the concept of statism is what's holding people's potential back to be free once again from authoritarian control, and therefore the state is the main predecessor of what causes the massive divide that you do see with people utilizing certain religious beliefs for what they believe in. Hold on, give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back. So, yeah, to go back to my previous point about America being a religious country, as far as the founding goes, the country was mostly prioritized with having small base colonies, kind of similar to like what European city states had in the past. The main issue of this manner is that not a lot of people were really able to prioritize themselves in setting up a efficient society to determine principles and laws of how people would be civilized. The main problem is obviously prioritizing what ethics and principles are. And I think when we talk about nations in a status sense, we're just utilizing that as a collective. We're utilizing nations as a collective concept because that's exactly how nations, see everything to be prioritized in their own manner based on what they believe in. So, I mean, as far as like what we can say, America was never to be like the country that people wanted it to be, as far as having it to, prioritize itself with a Judeo-Christian setup. And the reason for this is that when the founders were prioritizing the continental USA compared to like what the American Indians had set up with their formulation of what government would be, they had a different mindset in trying to organize society based on what they wanted. And how they did that is that they pretty much set up most of their laws and values based off of I would definitely say at least by the principles of the English common law, or some would say the Magna Carta from England, or you could also say some certain ideals from the American Indians, because some people do come up with like the weird claim to say that American Indians had prioritized the U.S. Constitution, and what the claim would be is just that a good portion of what the laws are similar with some of what the ideals with the certain tribes like the Iroquois Nation or the Algonquins or anybody that you would think to that level, which isn't really much data that I would try to even go by. And I think it's just mostly due to what's really considered to be the predecessor of like what's considered like European versus what the American Indians had believed in. But as far as America's foundation, America has a pretty interesting setup in terms of governance, because it's really similar to like what the Roman Empire had once done, mixed with a British style of like a common law system and like other laws put on top of it. Now, as far as the U.S. Constitution goes, after the United States had seceded against Britain in 1776 to achieve full-blown sovereignty, or like pretty much like America was already a country, of its own like accord. It's just that when nations tend to regain like the sovereignty of like what they had in the past, it's more like a reclamation of previous sovereignty of like what the people had settled on in the past. But once the new colonial USA was created, the principles of what America was pretty much the principles on respecting one's property rights and values, to say that we have natural, inalienable rights, which some people would say that's endowed by your creator, i.e. God, or it would just mostly be focus on the principles to say like, we do believe in these certain rights that are divisible within our humanity, but the government that we have created has a certain monopoly on violence to basically oppress the people in a certain sense, to say that the Constitution should be a limited base governmental society, which is just pretty much like a minarchist order, but to respect the property rights and individual liberties of people's lives, which that's obviously not true, because of the issue behind it is that but the U.S. Constitution was primarily designed in a way where you're supposed to have these rights that are supposed to be endowed to your humanity, But the issue behind it is that you're utilizing rights in such a, weird manner. And, when people say, like, these rights were created by the state to talk about, what the people's rights in terms of what God, views it, to say that your Lord and Savior gave you the ability to have rights that are stronger than government. And then it's like a weird double standard, because it's like, if government is supposed to be ruling over humans, then therefore God's law is not, God's law is not to be respected compared to government law or government power. So that's what, creates like the weird confusion with the United States, to say that, there's a certain, predecessor that people go by of like what they want to consider a Christian nation or not. But the theocracy of the U.S. being in place just doesn't make sense, because, the founders did not strategize, the Constitution based off of religion per se. And even when you look at the Constitution, especially in the First Amendment clearly states that you have the right of being a free human being, but God is not there to strategize to say that the creation of the U.S. government is based off of the liberty of, like, pretty much like the liberty of religion, to basically personify the means to say that in order for you to live free, you have to have government to act as a god in terms of what you believe in, to say that that's your freedom. And that's clearly not true, because it's like, that's been shown that governments do not preserve your liberties, but your religion does not protect protect nor create rights that would sustain your human liberties at all. So even in the First Amendment clearly states that that Congress shall make no law to cater to the means of religious freedom, to say that a certain religion needs to be controlling the structure of the U.S. government for it to be functional in what people believe in terms of what deity that they praise. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, there's really nothing else to really say. It's just more like people that want to disregard that, to say, no, that's not true. America was always a Judeo-Christian country. And the weird crap behind that is, like, look at the history before Europeans and come back and tell me, was that Christian? Like, American Indians don't need to tell you that they believe in God for the sake of Christianity. No, they believe in their own gods of what animism used to be in the past, and compared to what people believe in it now. So pretty much the claim to say that America was always a Christian country or a theocratic order, that's not true. Because if you're going to go by the Bible and actually read it word for word of what the Old and New Testament was to be written, America would not exist, because everybody would be fighting for power. And case in point, when you look at other religions that do the same thing, they don't succeed with having a theocratic order, because in retrospect, Christianity is supposed to be way more violent compared to Islam or Judaism or any other massive based religion. But the main point is that you can't strategize a mindset to say that everybody out of this particular geographical location of what a state is to be created for, i.e. government, is to say that everyone must believe in God in order for them to be free. Because that's clearly not true, because governments have oppressed more people in the name of government in terms of quote-unquote atheist-based, anti-theist beliefs, which it's not really atheist, it's just more like anti-theism 101. And that's what you do. I mean, the state is a religion that combats other religions to be the most powerful, religion in the world. So, I mean, my case in point is that, no, America is not a Christian country. and it will never be a Christian nation because, the founders made it clear that, based off of what the First Amendment principles, that no religion shall ever be established here. And even if it was, it would be another failing theocratic order that would have just fell to the ground, like many other empires have done, in other civilizations. On top of it, so yeah, that's pretty much what I have to say. I just wanted to kind of point that out, and yeah, like I'll just make one more point. In terms of secularism, as far as like what people like to argue against it, to say, oh well, secularism is only possible due to having a religious country to respect its own boundaries with blah 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 atheism. Here's the thing: you don't have to be religious in order to promote secularism. Like, you can be an atheist and believe in, let's just say, like, I don't know, like government based ideals to control other people in your own weird faith. But for people that are truly atheists, that still believe in the concept of statism, they are misjudging their morals and values based on what they believe in, but they're going by the principles to say that all men and women are created equal by the sake of their own humanity, to say that God never created anybody at all. And therefore, secularism is to promote the decentralized aspect, to say that religion has no part in human civilization, and human civilization runs solely based off of, the concept of what government says, to say that we're here to protect you for the sake of your rights. So therefore, we must stand on that proletariat principle, to say that we all must contribute to the state in terms of keeping communities strong and keeping the empire, together, which that clearly doesn't make any sense, but it's just like that's how statism is supposed to be followed in terms of what the world of secularism is based off of. It's to go against religion and to have the separation of religion and state to be two different concepts, because religious people have been persecuted by the state. But when you look at it, the only means of how theocracy keeps itself alive is through the means of statism. And there's been plenty of examples of many theocratic orders or empires that have failed to try to implement their rules of control, and they were never successful to keep people together. So the concept of utilizing that mindset doesn't really go hand in hand, and people usually end up failing at the end of the day. So secularism is what brings out the modern world together, and obviously, free markets is what makes people free in a more secular based society, versus in a massive religious order. In a theocracy, you don't see as many freedoms being given out to people. It's all based off of a feudalistic monarchist point of view, to say that there must be a king that is endowed by his creator of God to tell you what to do, and then you have like a pope, and then you have all these crazy psychopaths that you would put in power to say that this is why we have to have this because God told us so. Like, that's exactly how religion operates off of. It operates off of deception, and it operates off of a cultural divide. That's exactly how it goes. But yeah, secularism has done a pretty good job with keeping keeping most major religions out of government hands, and you see the nations like the U.S. being a great example of that, because no matter what anybody likes to say about the U.S., to say that we're a Christian country, we all praise the Bible Belt. No, that's not true. America is a country based off of Judeo-Christian values based off of secular-based values, where everything that you see that exists for the U.S. to be, sustainable, it's through atheist-based ideals to promote secularism. And even for people that wanted to, promote more atheism in the a colonial continental U.S., a lot of those people started to get more support with their philosophical writings of, going up against, the concept of God, to say that God does not exist in the means of political power. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll see you guys later. But be sure to like, rate, comment, do what you gotta do, and I'll see you guys. All right, peace out. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. All right, I'll see you guys. Bye.